Hello, and welcome to our miniature training on completing the SY 2017-18 Paid Lunch Equity Tool, also known as the PLE tool. On this training, we'll be focusing on completing the tool when a sponsor's decided that it wants to increase its weighted average price for the upcoming school year. We're starting on the Instructions tab. And we're going to assume that you've read the instructions after receiving the tool and that you're now moving on to the Unrounded Requirement Finder tab. On this tab, we can see what our weighted average price requirement was for the current school year. And we can see what our weighted average price requirement will be for the upcoming school year. Now at this point, you may have noticed that ODE sent this tool to you with some of the boxes filled in. Please keep in mind, some sponsors assume that because we filled in some of the boxes, we filled in all of the boxes. That's incorrect. We only fill in some of the boxes to assist you. We fill in this year's weighted average price requirement. On another tab, we'll enter in the number of meals that were served in the month of October from the previous year. We can also provide, by digging into our CMP database, pricing information that the sponsors have reported to us. Please be sure to note that even though we're providing this information, we're not filling out the tools for you. You still need to go through and enter in additional information telling us how you're going to be setting or meeting your price requirement for the upcoming school year. Since we can see the information, we've got to hit the $2.69 price requirement for next year. Let's go to the next tab, the school year 17-18 price calculator tab. Here we can see some information provided by ODE. They've provided the number of paid lunches that were served in October of 2016 and the prices at which those meals were served. In the Springfield district, we have three prices, one for elementary students, one for middle school students, one for high school students. We can see here, based on the number of meals served and the paid lunch prices, that this district's weighted average price for 2016-17 was $2.57. That is less than both the weighted average price requirement for the upcoming school year, which is $2.69, and the optional price requirement rounded down to the nearest 5 cents, $2.65. USDA policy provides that sponsors can, instead of increasing their price to the full amount of the unrounded price requirement, instead increase their price to the optional rounded down requirement. Please note that if you choose to increase your price only to the amount of the optional rounded down requirement, that your next year's weighted average price requirement will be calculated on the unrounded number. And that might mean a little extra price increase needed to meet that year's requirement. On this tab, at the bottom, we can see that we need a price increase of 8 cents. We can also see that with the 10-cent cap, the price increase would be up to $2.65. This 10-cent cap has confused many sponsors. They think it applies to them, and it does not. It in fact applies to the USDA. According to USDA regulations, the USDA and state agencies can only require that sponsors increase their weighted average prices by 10 cents in a year. Sponsors can, on their own, voluntarily increase their prices beyond 10 cents. It depends on what your school boards, your students, and your parents are willing to support and accept. And if we scroll down a little more, we see a pricing estimation calculator that can help us play around with some numbers and see what prices we're going to charge in the upcoming year. So let's scroll back up to the top, and we'll just copy this pricing information. All right, so we need to at least increase our weighted average price to $2.65. So let's try $2.35, a 5-cent increase across the board, $2.65 and $2.95. We're not quite there. And let's assume that we just want to keep it an equal price increase for all 3 levels. That may not be something you choose to do in your district. Again, this is up to you to decide. But let's assume that the Springfield district here has decided that everybody's going to pay the same increase. So let's go back. Let's try a 10-cent increase, $2.40, $2.70, and then $3. That gets us up to an average weighted price of $2.67. That is 2 cents below the weighted average price requirement for the upcoming school year, but it's also 2 cents above the optional rounded down requirement. So this district may decide that that's a sweet spot, and they just choose to leave that as their weighted average price for the upcoming school year. Since the district has chosen is $2.67, let's move over to the school year 2017-2018 report tab. This is where the district is going to tell ODE how they've chosen to satisfy the paid lunch equity requirement. So from this pull-down menu, the sponsor would choose increase average weighted price. They would then scroll down to the average weighted price adjustment section, and then in this box, enter $2.67. That informs ODE staff what the district's weighted average price will be for the upcoming school year. This sponsor is now done with their 2017-18 PLE tool. They can save it and email it to ODE staff for review and saving to the file.